Friday night took care of my weekday blues. I woke up, had breakfast, and read the news. I'm feeling relaxed, refreshed, and renewed. But I feel like there's something I'm forgetting to do.
Hey, Toby, the show's about to start.
Oh, yeah. It's a Saturday show. 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 It's a Saturday show.
Hey, Toby?
Yeah, Fred?
What's Otto doing?
Oh, I'm not sure. He got a package delivered earlier, and he said he'd be in the garage working on something.
Well, then what's he doing in the truck?
He's probably just pretending to drive. You know his fascination with going fast.
Do you drive a truck from under the hood?
What?
Otto's under the hood of the truck. Is that how you drive it?
No.
Then you better take a look.
Quiet! Let's take this one.
Hey, Otto, what are you doing?
Oh, hey, Toby. I'm just finishing up a couple modifications on the truck.
No, I mean exactly what are you doing?
Why don't you get in and I'll show you? No. I'll take the driver's seat.
Okay, Otto, what's this all about?
Well, Toby, I ordered a time machine kit from the internet. The website said it fits all Ford trucks from 1987 to 1996.
A time machine kit? How much did you pay for it? And did it come with a pack of magic beans?
Ha, Toby. Just you wait. We'll be traveling through time in, well, no time.
All right, Otto, I'll take the bait. How does it work?
Well, I've got all of the parts installed. Now we've just got to fire it up. Are you ready?
I suppose, but you're going to put the truck back the way you found it, right?
If this works, we'll just go back in time to before I installed it.
And if it doesn't?
Don't be so negative, Toby. Okay, in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I don't know what's wrong. I followed all of the directions.
Does it come with a manual?
Yep, right here.
Oh, right here. It says, for the time machine to work, it needs fuel. And this particular time machine is fueled by grooves.
Yeah, I read that, Toby, but there's nowhere for me to plug in my phone or even a CD player. How are we supposed to get this thing to play music?
I know just the thing, Otto. Why don't you hang out here and watch the word of the day, and I'll go get our fuel.
Okay.
Hey, Kashi, how you doing?
Oh, hi, Christopher. I'm great.
It's a chilly morning out here, isn't it?
It is. I think it's fall.
Well, listen, we're talking all about some old things on this episode. I wondered if you had anything you'd like to share with us.
I did. I brought that thing that's on top of Lexi's head. It kind of looks like, I wasn't sure what it was, but I figured out what it was. If you turn it sideways and you open up the sides like that, it's actually a toaster.
Oh my goodness.
And you plug it in. But I don't have the plug anymore. It probably wouldn't be very useful anymore, but
wow,
it would heat up and toast the bread, and then you put the little walls back on.
Wow, what a beautiful thing. I kind of like that. It looks like a spaceship up on...
I know.
Great. Well, listen, shall we get our word of the day?
Yes, please.
Okay, here we go. Well, let's see what it says.
Oh my goodness, this might be the longest word we had so far.
Can you read that, Kashi?
Okay, so chronological. Chronological.
Yeah, what's chronological mean?
Okay, I think it means when you do things in the right order.
The right time order, right?
Oh, yeah, right.
Unlike alphabetical order, we're putting things in time order. So let's see. First, we get up.
Yep.
Then we...
Get dressed.
Right.
Eat breakfast.
That's right.
Brush our teeth.
Yep.
Start our day.
Yes, you got it, Kashi.
That's in chronological order. Wow, that's such a fancy word.
It is. Are you ready for the summer game code?
I am.
Okay, here it is.
Brr, it's not summer anymore.
It's 7 letters, and I think I got it right this week. And it's a compound word. And it was a way to tell time by using the sun and its shadow. So if you think you know the answer, you can go to play.aadl.org for big points. All right, we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, toaster.
All right, Otto. I've got the grooves. Are you ready?
What is that, Toby?
Oh, this? It's an audio cassette. It's what people used to use to listen to music before there was CDs and after there was LPs and 45s and 78s.
What's a 78?
Don't worry, bud. I got a feeling you're going to find that out today.
Okay, Toby, where should we go first?
I don't know. Where do you think we should go?
Well, the word of the day was chronological, so I think we should start by going as far back as we can.
Sounds good to me, bud. Are you ready?
You know I am.
Well, here goes nothing. Where are we at?
I don't know. What's that over there?
This is a drop spindle. It has been used for thousands of years to make fiber into yarn. 2,000 years ago in Iron Age Scandinavia, it would have looked like this. The fibers are twisted into a thread by the spinning of the spindle. While the thread grows, the spindle drops, which is why it's called a drop spindle. When the spindle reached its end of its drop, you have to stop and load the thread onto the spindle by winding it up, and then do it all over again. Standing up, you can spin a much longer thread before you have to start loading the spindle, but it still takes a long time to spin a lot of thread. The trick is to keep the spindle spinning. If it stops spinning and starts spinning the other way, it will unwind the thread and the thread will break. So you have to keep giving it a little twirl now and then to keep it spinning.
That was so cool, Toby. Let's jump forward.
A few hundred years later, we get the spinning wheel. We now are using our feet to keep the spindle spinning. Now we have both hands free to work with the fibers and feed it evenly into the spindle. We don't have to worry about stopping and loading either, because this happens automatically when we spin. This made it much easier to make more thread and yarn with a spinning wheel than with a drop spindle, and a lot more fabric and clothes were made. Today we spin for hobby, but during the medieval times, spinster was an actual job.
Hi everybody, my name's Ellie, and since we're talking about old stuff this week and time machine-like things, I thought a great thing to talk to you guys about would be letter writing. Now, letter writing isn't old per se, because it's something that we can still do today. But nowadays, communication is usually through texting, or talking on the phone, or emailing, or chatting on your computer. And letter writing is kind of just a reminder of what communication used to be like. Sometimes people would have to write letters to tell their loved ones anything. There wasn't texting or computers or anything like that. And sometimes you had to wait weeks before you could hear back. Can you even imagine? But now, letter writing is just a nice way to send someone mail to show them that you were thinking of them. And having pen pals is always fun. I love getting mail and I love sending mail. So I thought I should show you guys just how to do it. Let's get going. The first thing you'll need is a piece of paper. Now I'm just using a plain piece of notebook paper because I don't have any fancy stationery. But I do have a bunch of colored pens, and I think I'm going to pick blue to start. So we're going to say, Dear Toby and Otto. And then because you always want to address your letter with who you're writing to at the beginning. I love, in all capitals, the Saturday show. Keep up the good work. Love. When you're writing letters, always sign who it's from, or else they won't know. And just for fun, I think I'm going to draw a little picture of Otto. So here's his turtle shell. And I guess his face is green too, isn't it? And his arms. And this little turtle tail. And his shell is kind of yellowish, isn't it? So, we'll color it in. And we'll give him a face. And there is our letter. So the next thing we have to do is we need to fold our paper so it fits nicely into our envelope. And put it right in there and seal it. This one has a nice little glue. Seal it up, and then we have to address the envelope. So you put in the middle who you're sending your letter to, so the recipient, and then up in the upper left corner you put your name. So I'm going to do this part just in black because I want to make sure the mail person can read it. So Toby and Otto. And I'm going to address it to the Ann Arbor District Library. So Toby and Otto at the library. The library's address is 434 South 5th Avenue, Ann Arbor, MI, which stands for Michigan, 481, oh, I messed up, 48104. Good. And then I'll put my name up here. And then I don't like to put my address on the internet. So I'm going to make up a street address for me. We're going to say 123 Magic Avenue in Ann Arbor, Michigan, 48104. Now we're almost done. You only have one thing left to do, and that is put a stamp in your top corner. So I'm going to grab a stamp and put it right here. There we go. And that is how we address an envelope. Good job, you guys. Now we have our letter to send. So you can send a letter either by putting it in your mailbox and putting up the flag, or you can find a blue mailbox around town and you can drop it in, or you can just take it straight to the post office yourself. And usually by a week, depending on where you're writing, the person that you wrote to will get your letter and hopefully they'll send you one back. Thanks so much. I hope you guys write some letters. Bye.
Hi, welcome to What Is It? Today we have an item that is in two pieces. This is a wooden base with room to screw in these pieces of metal. That's a ladybug, initial P. I don't know if you can see that one very well. That is a heart. So screws on here, solid, not going to move. And then with this we have some waxy crayon looking things with what appears to be a wick at the end. It's got red and gold and green, and you use these together. What is it?
All right, Toby, so we've seen 1000 CE and 1400 CE. Where do you want to go next?
How about sometime a little closer to 2020?
Are you sure?
Yeah, hit it, dude.
Hello, and welcome to the year 1920. I use a butter churn to make butter. This kind of butter churn is called a dasher. There's a lid that goes on top of the crock part of the churn, and then this part on a long stick with two boards is called the dasher. You put cream that you get from cow's milk, raises to the top of a container. You skim it off the top and you put the cream inside the crock. Then you put the dasher in and the lid back on, and you dash it up and down like this. And this constant motion in the cream is going to cause it to separate, and you'll get 1 part butter and 1 part buttermilk. Both very useful things for cooking. So it's really helpful when you're using a dasher to make butter. If you're really mad, or if you have a good song to sing, or if you have a younger brother or sister to help you finish the job, because it takes about 45 minutes of doing this over and over and over again until we get our butter. But it's very worth it because butter is delicious. Hello, and welcome to the year 1940. I use a butter churn to make butter. This is called a daisy churn. It's got a big glass jar bottom and a screw-on lid that is attached to a metal rod that's got some wooden paddles at the bottom. So all you do is you put your cream in your glass jar, you screw the top on, and then you start cranking the crank to make the paddles go. This only takes about 10 minutes. When you're all done, at the top of the lid, there's a screen. So you can just pour out your buttermilk and it'll separate it from your butter. I can't imagine it'll ever get any easier than that.
What I heard? Roof, roof. Oh, I found a bone. See, I found a yummy bone. Bone. You find a knucklebone. Knucklebone is a game very similar to Jack in Western cultures. In the olden days, one would use piece of bones, often from the thigh joints of a sheep or a pig. Children often save them from their dinner tables. Use the talus bones as part of a game can be dated back as far back as the Roman Empire. Although now the knuckle bones have changed to the modern time and different countries, we don't use the talus bone now. When I was a girl, we used to make these tiny little pouches around about 1¾ inches. As you can see, it filled up with the uncooked rice. One can use the bean as a substitution when you don't have rice. And one will need to make 10 of these to play. The simple ways to start playing is by tossing all the sacks up in the air, and you pick one up after they landed, and then get the other sack as you toss one in the sack until you get them all 10 sacks picked up. Second round, you will start the game same way. Instead of one sack, now you will need to pick up 2. And then the next round, you will need to pick up 3. And then you will pick up 4 until 5, until you get one toss in the air and catch all 9 of them to declare you are winners. At any point you drop the sack, like I did, you lose your turn to continue to play. Then someone will have a chance to play to best you at the game. When it is your turn again, you can pick up where you left off until someone has been declared a winner. It is said in the ancient time in China, this game was strongly encouraged among young girls in order to practice the nimbleness of their fingers. The more nimble their fingers, the more skill they would be able at the looms and embroidery. And this is the story and the game of knucklebones. Bye.
Hi, it's Christopher here. I'm so excited about this week's theme to the Saturday show because I get to talk about something old and fun, 78s. Before we look at 78s though, I want to refresh your memory as to what albums or LPs look like. Here we go. This is what we used to listen to when I was a kid, and you can see they're pretty indestructible, made out of PVC or vinyl. They're indestructible unless you leave them in the car window too long, then they're going to warp a lot. There were also 45s. 45s played at 45 revolutions per minute. And now you can start to see why we call these 78s. 78s play at 78 revolutions per minute. But they do not bend at all. They are quite hard. They're made out of shellac, and they were popularized between the 1890s and the 1950s. They've got some great old artists on them, though. This is Phil Harris, who is the voice of Baloo and Little John in the Walt Disney movies, the Dorktown Poker Club. This one is called Don't Make Me Go to Bed and I'll Be Good by Esmeralda. This is called Stone Cold Dead in the Market, He Had It Comin' by Ella Fitzgerald. So there are so many great songs on here. This is a Leadbelly 78. This is Eddie Arnold. And this is Stackley, an old classic. So this music's been around a long time, and I think it's really fun to go back and look at some of its roots and how we used to enjoy it. Take care.
All right, guys, did I get you with this one? This is a sealing wax embosser. This is the sealing wax. This is the embosser, and it is used to seal an envelope. Now, we don't use these so much anymore because all the envelopes have something to stick them together, but back in the day, this is how letters were sealed. So, you light the wick on the end of your wax, hopefully. And you drip your wax onto the two sides of the envelope to bring them together. And I'm just going to spin it a little so I get an even melt. There we go. There's our wax blob. Then we take our embosser with our nice little picture. I'm going to use the ladybug and we squish it down between the two sides of the envelope again. And it doesn't look perfect. It's not supposed to. There is our ladybug. Hopefully you can see it okay. So this is an envelope embossing kit.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth, and I want to talk about cameras today. There are so many different types of cameras. We're going to talk about a few today. You might think about a camera as this easily accessible application on your phone. You can flip the camera back and forth to change your view. You can go through these different modes and see exactly what that mode is going to do to your photograph. And then you can easily upload it onto the internet and share it with everybody. But cameras didn't always used to be like this. So we're going to talk about the SLR camera. The digital SLR camera uses a similar lens system to the film camera that we're going to talk about today, but they capture images using digital sensors instead of recording them on film. So let's talk about film for a second. I'm out in the archives today, and we have a whole collection of film out here. We have around 1.7 million negatives in different formats. So I'm talking a lot about 35mm today, but we do have other formats. This is a sleeve of 35mm, and 35mm refers to the size of the film. So out here we scan these, and eventually we turn them into a picture that goes up on the website. We also have other formats, such as the 120, which is known as medium format. And so this one is a little bit bigger than the 35mm. Another format we have is a 4x5. This is the largest negative that is on film that we have. If you were to use a camera to produce film, like the negatives we just saw, you'd have to go through a few different steps. First, you would need your film, and that would come to you in a light-proof container. So the 35mm looks like this. This canister is totally light-proof. This little tail out here is already exposed to light. So this is going to be totally black when I develop it because all of that silver on top of there has reacted with the light. And that's how photographs are made. The film is exposed to light for a brief second, a fraction of a second, and that captures the image. So how did film come to exist in the first place? This question is going to take us all the way back to prehistoric times. Humans used the concept of camera obscura, which we're going to get to in a second, to project images through a tiny hole in either an animal hide, a tapestry. That tiny little hole would create a reverse image projected on the wall. Fast forward the 1400s through the 1600s, people were trying to develop this technology further. And scientists realized that this projection could be harnessed to use mirrors. So for centuries, people knew that you could project an image. People knew that silver reacted to light and that silver darkened when it was exposed to light. What people didn't know was how to create that image and make it stay there, because the light would continue to develop the silver until it was nothing but a black surface. So the problem that scientists are trying to solve is a chemistry problem. They want to find a chemical that will stop the development of the photograph and freeze it in time. So in 1827, a photographer in France finally is able to do this. The process he used is not one that we use today, but it was successful in that it created an image that did not fade after it was taken. The drawback to this process was that it took 7 to 8 hours to capture his image. Over the next few years, photography developed quite a bit. In 1839, that is considered the birth of photography as we know it. And that is when a system called the daguerreotype, which was made on a metal plate, was popularized. So in the 1850s, there was another process called the collodion wet plate, and this was done on a glass plate. It isn't until the 1880s that a film is developed that is similar to what we use today, and that is a piece of paper coated in a gel. And this gel has photosensitive chemicals on it. The 35mm camera was first invented around 1913 by the inventor of the Leica camera. Though this format became quickly popular and was applied to many different models, and I'm going to show you a couple. This is an example of one 35mm camera. It has a large lens on it. These lenses you can take off and exchange with other lenses. This is one of the other lenses, so each one will have a different range of focus. There are lenses that will take you in really close to something so you can do microphotography. Let's just look at my Pentax K1000 really quick because this camera is the one that I know best. And this one has a little case on it that you can take off, which protects it and also makes it a little bit harder to expose the film when you're not trying to. And so this is just a standard beginner camera. And this is a model that was produced between 1976 and 1997. And so this works. You can look through the viewfinder and focus. We have this on the side is called the f-stop. So this little gear here twists around and makes the lens open and close, allowing different amounts of light to come through. And then we have another meter up here, which is the shutter speed. And so those two settings have to agree with each other to produce an image with the right lighting. Now these cameras are for beginners, like I said. And if you look through that viewfinder, there's a light meter in there. So it's gonna show you if you have the right light. Not all of them do though. So this is a great camera to learn on. So we looked at the Pentax K1000 and we saw that it does require a little bit of extra knowledge to actually get a good image to turn out. We have these more consumer-friendly versions that came out in different models. We have one here, we have another here, and both of these are very similar. And these just open up really easily with a little button on the side. They don't make it hard to get it open. So you can get that open and then your film goes right in there. So let's say we were gonna load this film. I have a roll here. I'm gonna take it out, and then this film would just go right in there, and then you close it. Thanks for watching.
Hi, I'd like you to meet a friend of mine. This is Anna Stell. And she has some friends too. She's got Henry and Violet. They live with her at her house. Down the street, she has a friend, Gracie, and Georgia. And the last friend that we have is Tommy. He hasn't been cut out yet. As you can see, all of these dolls are paper dolls. Now, paper dolls have been around a long time, as long as there's been paper. They've been in all cultures, Japanese cultures, Balinese, European, Chinese, you name it. The first manufactured paper doll was Little Fanny in 1810. Now in America, where we live, the first manufactured paper doll was The History and Adventures of Little Henry, and that was in 1812. I bet if you asked your grandma or your great-grandma if she had paper dolls, she would say yes. So here's how they would often come. This is from a magazine, from Mary Englebright magazine in the 2000s, and she was kind of recreating paper dolls from the 50s. So you have your doll. This is kind of a heavier type paper, almost like a cardboard, and they would have all kinds of outfits and accessories. Tommy with some tomatoes, some PJs, and you would cut out your doll and then outfit them, and the little tabs keep the outfits on. Now, paper dolls were made in box sets. They were in magazines. So every month, if you were a kid back in the day, your mom would get a magazine, and in it would be a paper doll that you could cut out and play with. Paper dolls were most popular in the 1930s and 1950s. And then Barbie came into being in the 60s, and they think that it's probable that her popularity decreased the popularity of paper dolls. But as you can see from these, they're still around, and they are a lot of fun to play with. Now, Anna Stell is fashioned after a 1950s doll, and so what we're cutting out is a 1950s sailor dress and tam, and a tam is a hat, like we see here, with the nice little red ball on top. Okay, here we go. So we have a little suit for Henry. We have our hat or tam for Anna Stell. Shall we see how they look? Here she is. Then you just have your little tabs and you fold them. Oh, she's so cute. Alright, so that's Anna Stell. Alright, let's find Henry. Oh my, I think he might be even cuter. What do you think? Pretty sweet, huh? Let's get them a background. Alright, and here is the background that came with this set. So it's the 4th of July, back in the day. And here comes Anna Stell. Ooh, Ooh, that looks good. I think I'll have a little pie. I think I might want some lemonade. That looks delicious. And look, there's Henry's friend. Here comes Henry in his sweet little outfit. So these are toys that you would have played with in the 1930s, 40s, 50s, maybe even 60s. But you know what? There's no reason that you couldn't play with them today. If you like the idea of paper dolls, you can even make your own. If you've been watching Nora on AADL.TV making her own dollhouse, she's going to have an episode where she is making paper dolls to go in her house. So join us next week on the Saturday show, and we'll see what Anastell's friends are getting up to then. Bye.
Oh, hi. I'm just looking at a comic book. Do you like to look at comic books? You know what's really cool about this comic book that I'm looking at? This comic book is from the 1960s. It's older even than I am. That is 60 years old. And you know who's on the front of this comic book that's 60 years old? This is Iron Man. Do you know Iron Man? Yeah? And he's so old here. Can you see that Iron Man has a different suit than the one you know today? But I also have a comic right here with the new Iron Man. This is when Iron Man gets his new suit, which is how you see him. And look, here's the price of this comic book. It's 12 cents. That's how much a comic book cost 60 years ago. I have other comics too, like this one. Do you know these guys? I hope you enjoyed seeing those really, really old comic books. Isn't it cool how even though they're 60 years old, comic books aren't that different from the ones you see today? So they really haven't changed that much. You know why? Because they've always been great. That's what's so cool about that. So I think I'm going to sit here and read another one. I have to take it out of this special plastic sleeve that protects it because it's old. I'm going to read this Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Phew. We've been flying around, Otto. You want to take another jump forward?
Sure thing, Toby. Hit those grooves.
This looks kind of familiar. Where do you think we're at?
Oh, I don't know. Wait, there's Amanda over there. What's she doing?
Hey gang, Amanda here. So the other day, Otto and I were talking about how fast time seems to fly, and it got me thinking about my favorite decade, the 1980s. You see, I was just a kid in the 1980s, and it was the best. I'm not kidding you. I was playing with Cabbage Patch Kids, Strawberry Shortcake Dolls, Care Bears. I played Pac-Man and Donkey Kong on our Atari in our family's perfectly paneled basement. I rode my banana seat bike all over town. The Detroit Tigers even won the World Series. It was pretty great. And TV, what was I watching? Cool things like Elf, Punky Brewster, Charles in Charge, The Facts of Life, The Smurfs. So much cool stuff was going on. In fact, too much cool stuff was going on in the 80s for me to tell you all about it. So I decided to pick one year to focus on and share with you. Are you ready for it? 1986. But before we go back in time, I should probably get changed. I'll be right back. Welcome to 1986. It was like Tubular Man. I was 10 years old. And did I really dress like this? Sometimes. But seriously, what was going on in 1986? Well, for starters, Ronald Reagan was president, Space Shuttle Challenger disaster happened, Oprah Winfrey Show debuted, and the Chicago Bears won the Super Bowl. Gas was about 93 cents a gallon, and Lady Gaga was born. The top television shows in 1986 were Cheers, The Cosby Show, and Family Ties, one of my family's favorites. And the top film of the year was Top Gun, starring Tom Cruise. What was going on television? This. What's that? A VHS tape. How do I play a VHS tape, you ask? Let me show you. You play it on your VCR. But Amanda, what about the good stuff? What about the toys? Well, we were playing with things like Transformers, WWF action figures, Pound Puppies. I was playing with Jem and the holograms, and Barbie and the rockers, Teddy Ruxpin. Have I left out one important, totally amazing thing about the 1980s? Yes, the music. And yes, I want my MTV. The top song in 1986 was That's What Friends Are For by Dionne Warwick and Friends. But I was 10 years old, and my favorite thing to do with my birthday money was head to Kmart and buy 7-inch records. One of my favorites was also a fashion inspiration, Cyndi Lauper. And let's not forget about Madonna, Janet Jackson, Elda Barge, Bon Jovi. And speaking of Bon Jovi, before we burned CDs, before we made playlists on Spotify, we had mixtapes. And here's a tape I actually had in 1986, and what's on it? Bon Jovi and the Beastie Boys. Hey friends, thank you so much for joining me on that little trip back in time to 1986. Hopefully you learned some cool stuff, picked up some fashion pointers, or maybe you got to reminisce about your own childhood. Either way, do you hear that song? I think we've got to dance it out. I'll see you next time.
Well, Otto, it looks like we're back in 2020. Did you learn a lot about the past?
I sure did, Toby. That was a lot of fun. I told you that this thing would work.
To my surprise, it did, Otto. You better leave a good review for McFly Time Incorporated.
I will.
Well, folks, that's our show for today. Thanks so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like more resources about some of the things that you saw in today's episode, you can go to aadl.org/The Saturday Show. And if you'd like to drop us a line, you can send an email to tss@aadl.org. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep traveling!